So this lender may not even know that. Okay, and let's think about their position in the money markets. Now, I prepared you for this a little bit last time. Okay, so we're but let's first think of them as a security dealer. So we have, if we think of this security dealer, I need to introduce a few concepts here. If we think of them, first of all, just as a security dealer, we can separate their book into two pieces. What I'm going to call a matched book piece and a speculative dealer piece. Okay? And so let's imagine that this dealer has securities in of 100 and securities out of 100. And these are the same securities. Okay? So he has a short position and a long position in the same securities. So this is what we mean by matched book. I'm not writing very well today. Matched book. Okay? The trainer model ignores matched book, right? All of this gross position on the balance sheet here, okay, nets to zero. So it's right there, okay? What trainer says dealers are worried about is their net position, okay, is because that exposes them to price risk. Okay, so let's put that now on here. We'll call net financing here of 10, okay, and then the financing itself, loans of 10. So I'm showing like a long position in bonds here, and I'm using this word for a reason. We'll come back to it, but think of that as a long position in bonds, okay, that's financed by borrowing here. So here you do have a position, right? If the price of these bonds falls, okay, then you have a loss. If the price rises, you have a gain. So it's this part of the balance sheet, okay, that trainer was focused on. But if you look at the actual balance sheet of actual dealers, this is about the order of magnitude. You know, most of it is gross exposure. You know, most of it is matched book. Only a little bit of it is net exposure here, okay? They're making a lot of money doing this, or they wouldn't be doing it, okay? And that's not really in the trainer model. So we'll call this the speculative book here, or the trainer book, because that's what he's talking about. But I just want you to appreciate that he's not talking about the entire book. Okay. I think I maybe mentioned these two words before, but I didn't spell it out in clear detail because I wasn't going to use them yet. Okay, now we're going to use them. And we're going to use them by flipping our attention, little Gestalt switch, okay, from the security dealer as a dealer in securities to the security dealer as a dealer in money. This is just to remind you, this is on the New York Fed's website, and it shows here, this line here, memorandum, reverse repurchase agreements, overnight and continuing, and term agreements here, okay? You remember a couple of lectures back, when I think maybe when I was doing repo, okay, I said we can use these numbers to construct a balance sheet for the dealer, showing them as a money dealer, okay? And so let's just do that. Let's just copy the numbers first, okay? So this is now real numbers. Those were made up numbers, okay? And we're going to call them a money dealer now, okay? Because we're thinking of the securities as just collateral for these money positions, and then thinking about the borrowing and lending in the money market that's happening using these securities. And so we have assets and liabilities. There's 854 of overnight reverse. There's 1253 of term reverse. There's 1796 of overnight repo, and there's 826 of term repo. Okay. here, just to remind you, a reverse is the same thing as a repo except the other side. Okay? So if repo is borrowing money by giving securities as collateral, reverse is lending money, taking in securities as collateral. So it's the same instrument, just opposite sides. And that's what dealers are. They're on the opposite sides of the same instrument. Well, that should make you think now, opposite sides of the same instrument. So there's a matched book somewhere underlying all of this. Yes, there is. Okay, so let's calculate it. Let's rewrite all of this in matched book way over here. So this is the actual numbers. And now let's just use our concepts. Okay, and you can see that, and so we want to match up, and let's just say that these terms are the same terms, just because this is for conceptual purpose. I don't know if they're the same terms. The data, it doesn't tell you that detailed. Okay, but just imagine that these are all 1 month or something like that. Term reverse and term term repo here. Or probably not. Okay, but you could continue. You could elaborate the same style of analysis. So these are overnight. So there's 854 overnight. And 854 overnight. Okay, that would be matched book. Okay, we have some left over. How much do we have left over? I did this math before class to make sure that I got it right. Okay. So here I'm doing exactly what I did with the securities, right? I'm carving out the matched book part. And now let's do the term, 826. And 826. These are billions, by the way, so these are large numbers. Okay, and so there's something left over then from the term 2, and that number is 427. When you add both sides, there's also something left over, and that's 515 net financing. So this is like bonds, okay? These are bonds that are being financed in the overnight repo market, okay? And this is term repo that's being financed in the overnight market. And it should add to 942, these things here. And it looks good, okay? So you see, the numbers are all the same. They're all the same. I've just rearranged them so that you can say this is the matched book part and this is the speculative book part. Okay. Now I want to do one more thing, okay, in order to help us move toward using the trainer model for banking. Think about these. These are bonds. Okay. Let's move a little bit more. Let's think about these as bonds. Okay, these are bonds that the dealer is financing. And let's think about this dealer as financing them with term repo instead of with overnight, so we can separate out two different kinds of risk. Okay? How much term repo would you need to finance 515? Well, 515. Now we've added term repo to one side, we have to add term repo to the other side so that we maintain our balance of our balance sheet, and we're not changing any exposures. Okay? And you can see just by the math that what that does is basically allow you to write, I'm just adding it up there, okay? We have two kinds of risk, okay, that the dealer is exposed to here. Okay? This bottom one, you have bonds and you're financing them in the term repo market. Okay, so this is the kind of trainer risk. This is price risk. This is bond price risk. So we know about that. We have a model about that. This is price risk. But what is this? What is this line here? These exposures. So you see I'm reading across. I'm looking at each line as being a different exposure. So here you're borrowing overnight and you're lending for a month. So you're borrowing short and you're lending long. Both of these are secured loans, secured with some kind of bond of some kind. And so you're basically a bank, is what you're doing. These are like deposit accounts. Okay, this is demand deposit here, and this is a one month loan here. Okay, this is liquidity risk. This is liquidity risk that the dealers are exposed to because they have to roll this funding every day. Every day this funding comes due. In fact, it's actually rolled. Typically, the collateral comes back and you do it again. Sometimes there's agreements to do it automatically, but you could pull out. It's overnight repo. So this is liquidity risk. This could be a run on the bank, the kind of thing that broke the reserve primary fund. Okay, so this is liquidity risk. So how do we think of, so we know how to talk about price risk. Can we use the trainer model to talk about this kind of risk? And I want to suggest that we can. The important thing to emphasize is this balance sheet is the same as this balance sheet. I haven't changed anything. All I've done is rearrange it so that it tells a different story. Okay? All the numbers are the same.